So we're going to go through cleaning and adjusting a carby on a 2023 GasGas 50. So we start by making sure the fuel's turned off, and then you get a flat blade screwdriver or a 6mm socket and undo the clamps, the front and back of the carby. And then we pull the carby out to here, undo the cap, which sometimes can be quite tight. Pull up the slide, remove the fuel line, the breathers, and then we have one dirty carby. So we have a few examples here. They're all the PHBG. This is a 19BS. This is a 19BS, the older version with the 2 screws on top instead of the screw-on cap. And this is a 21 BS. So it's the same carby, but the 21mm throat. So what we do is use a P2 Phillips. Remove the bottom, the bowl, remove the gaskets. Now we have the floats and the pin. So remove the pin. Normally you can get that with a bit of a shake and then it'll come out. Take the main jet. And the anti-surge washer off. There we have the needle and seat, a needle for the needle and seat. Use a 8mm socket, take out the needle jet. Then we have the idle jet. And the start jet. So now that we've got those out and we've cleared the bottom, we can take off the fuel tube, 11mm spanner to remove the choke. The mixture screw for the idle, good practice to check where it was set before you start. We'll go through setting it and what to listen for and how to adjust it after. But to start with, it's a good idea to know where you were before you start. So we've got half, 1, 1.5, 2. That's where we're at. So then we take that out. A little O-ring on the end there, make sure that that comes out with it. And then we have the idle screw, RPM, idle. All right, so now that we've taken that apart to that point, we go and ahead and put it in the ultrasonic to clean everything, and then we can go through the assembly after that. Alright, so we put this in the ultrasonic. We've got just a normal cheap ultrasonic that a lot of people already have. So we just place this. I've warmed it up to 50 odd degrees. So we drop all the bits and pieces in here. The lid back on, and then set the time. And once that's done, we'll grab them out and go from there. Okay, so we've finished with the ultrasonic. I've taken them out and dried them with compressed air. So we have all the parts ready to go back together. We have the choke, the start jet, the idle jet, the needle jet, the main jet, anti-surge washer, the mixture screw, the idle screw, the needle for the needle and seat, and the floats, pin for the floats, and then the screws for the bowl. Now a couple of these are a little bit damaged because we have the carby apart so often. So before we assemble it, we'll talk about jets. A standard bike comes with a 95 main jet, and I think the last bike I think they're normally a 50 or a 55 for the idle jet. But we always drop them, the 60 for the start jet, which is fine, and the 262 I haven't changed, I haven't needed to, and the standard choke, and the 4 gram floats, that's normal. We haven't played around with that. But we have the slides. So when you pick up a bike, they come with a 40. If you see that, it's got a 40 in there. KTM Group have a 40 or a 60 available on their parts list, but this one's a 50. And what that is that you have a different size cutout. The 40 is smaller, the 50 is a bit bigger, and the 60 I think is in one of the other bikes at the moment, so I can't show you that. But there's a larger scallop out of that. So when that goes into the carby like so, it's for part throttle. So when it starts to open, you get a little bit more air for a little bit leaner through part throttle, quarter, third throttle sort of range. You get a little bit more air through with the larger cutout than you do with the smaller cutout. So when you raise the needle, and if the needle step is too much from one to the other, you can increase the size of the cutout to add a little bit of air to that. So if you go from clip 2 to clip 3 on your needle, which lifts the needle out, gives you a bit more fuel at on throttle. If that's too much, you can change your slide to balance that out if need be. I don't hear too many people talking about that, but that's how that works. So if you're having problems with the needle being too high, too low, one way or the other, you can always just change this. Try changing a slide for that initial throttle and part throttle. So what we'll do is we can start assembling the carby now. So we'll start with the needle jet, which is the 8mm. Just squeeze that up. And then the start jet. I'm actually going to drop that. That's a 48. I'm going to go down to a 45. 48's a little bit much as we're in the summer now. It's getting a little bit warmer, and I can show you why I want to do that. In another video, I can show you what the reason is for that. And then we put the needle into here. Oi. Then we make sure that the float hooks over the needle correctly. We slide the pin through. Okay, so now we can put the main jet. We're running an 85 at this point, which is okay. I mean, we don't need to be running it too crisp and clean for a bit of deep sand that we're riding tomorrow. And make sure that the surge washer is facing down when the carby is in the correct position. Okay, so now I'm going to put the gasket back on. The bowl. As I said, these screws are a little bit worn out, so I have to replace them soon. But that'll get us out of trouble today. Okay, so then we put the choke in. And that's the 11mm. And then we have the idle. And then the mixture screw. So we checked that when we took that off. So that was 2 turns. But what we'll do is I'll go through, once it's back on the bike, I'll show you how to set that and the process of setting it correctly. Well, I'll say correctly, but how you can work out where you are with that. So we had 2 full turns, so half 1, half 2. Here's where we were, or thereabouts, but we can adjust that once we've got it on the bike. And then we put the fuel hose back on. Okay, that's ready to go back on the bike. Okay, so we have the clean carby ready to go back on. I didn't take the slide off just to clean the carby. It's not necessary normally. It's just a standard 40 slide with the standard W7 needle clip position 2. So what I'll do is I'll just install the carby. So start by putting this in here. Make sure the pin's lined up so that it slides in nicely. Tighten the cap up. Breather tubes on. Always make sure that there's nothing in the intake, dirt wise. So then we slide the carby into here. Lined up, fuel line on. There's always tricks and people struggling to start these things. Cold start. What I find the easiest is a good clean air cleaner, freshly oiled, not with a spray oil, with the Motor X is what we use. So turn the fuel tap on, let the fuel fill the bowl, give it a minute or so, put the choke on. We'll go through the mixture screw shortly, but I'll give it a kick, we'll get it to warm up, and then we can go through that. So better take it outside first.